Hi guys, my name is Marielle, and for today's video I wanted to share with you my experience as a yoga teacher. A lot of you have sent me messages saying that you'd love to know more about how I became a yoga teacher, some of the courses that I took, all of those good things. So here's a video to tell you a little bit more. So the truth is, for the longest time, I've always loved yoga, but I never thought that I wanted to be a teacher. It was actually my mom who encouraged me to do my teacher training. And I ended up doing my teacher training with Julie Montague. It was the first year that she was doing her teacher training, and she was doing it with another teacher called Sarah Thompson, who is absolutely amazing. She's a student of Stuart Gilchrist's, and she now lives in the BVI. So I ended up deciding to do my teacher training with them because, to be completely honest, I was looking for a more nurturing environment. Given that I wasn't intending on teaching, I didn't want to go to a very rigid and strict kind of course where I know it can be really intimidating putting yourself in front of people and having to teach. So I knew Julie and I knew Sarah, and I think they're both absolutely wonderful human beings, and I knew that I'd be in safe hands doing my teacher training with them. So I did my 200 hours with them, and when I finished, again, I was still quite determined that I wasn't going to teach, that I was just doing it for my own practice. And as fate would have it, Julie very kindly put me forward as one of her students to trial at a studio that was looking to give opportunities to new teachers to do community classes. And I think this is actually a fantastic thing for studios to do, and I'm seeing more studios do it, because the reality is, when you come out of your teacher training, you want to apply to all these places because you want to get experience, and unfortunately all of these places always come back saying that they require a minimum of 2 years, if not longer. And it becomes one of these strange double-edged swords where you can't get into the studios without experience, you can't get experience without getting into the studio. Anyways, long story short, had that not have happened for me, had I not have been given that opportunity, I'm not sure where I would be right now, whether I would have rented the church halls, etc., given that I wasn't really intending on teaching. But I got this great opportunity at an up-and-coming at a new studio, and I very fortunately got the chance, despite the fact that my trial was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And I think it's tough when you do your 200 hours. There's so much information, there's so much to absorb, and naturally there's a lot that is not covered. So hopefully this video will give you a little bit more insight on those things, especially for those of you that are interested in becoming teachers. So one of those things that I was not aware of and that was not covered in my teacher training at the time was how to go about doing a trial. And trials are different everywhere you go. I mean, they can give you as little as 15 minutes to a full class, a full hour class. For this one, I was given half an hour. And I remember having no idea what I was supposed to do, so I just assumed I would do the first half hour of a class. So in I go to my trial and, you know, prepared my music, timed it to half an hour, and I'm at the peak of my sequence, and I look at the manager of the studio and I'm like, so I think we've done half an hour, do you want me to keep going? And I remember she looked at me and she was like, is this how you'd finish a class? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I was hoping to get like a full class in those 30 minutes, and I'm a bit confused as to how we're here. And I was mortified. I had no idea. And I looked at her and I literally went, Shavasana? I was like, do you want to lie down? I think we're done. And I walked out of there sure that I bombed it and just felt like a bit of a failure. All of those, you know, natural emotions that we go through in those kind of moments. And I was very fortunate enough to be called back in to do a full hour trial. But again, I've had trials that were 15 minutes and I think I got stopped about 10 minutes in. I think with most trials, just keep in mind that you want to give as much of an impression of not only your teaching skills, but how you would plan out a class. And so whatever time frame they give you, try to cover the full spectrum. anyways, from then, because I started teaching at that studio, I got the bug. I really enjoyed teaching and realized that it's actually something that I did want to do. And so I decided to continue my education, and I signed up for my advanced 300 hours, which I finished this year. And that, I would have to say, was one of the best trainings I've ever done. It was with Bryce Yoga. Part of it is, and I'll be honest with you, and I'm sure there's people that will disagree with me, and again, because I was coming into my teacher training originally with a mindset of I'm just doing this for my own personal practice, I honestly feel when people ask me what would I recommend in terms of a 200-hour training, as long as you like the teachers that are involved, as long as you like their style, their teaching style, I don't really think that you can go wrong. I mean, it is important to kind of know what aspects are important to you. Are you into the philosophy, into the anatomy, into the sequencing? And try to find your trainings based on those things that you enjoy. But ultimately, your 200 hours, until you teach, so much is going to go in one ear and out the other. It's not really going to be applicable. Your best lessons are going to be in a class when you're up front and actually doing your thing. And I think that's why my 300-hour became as impactful as it was, because I was actually teaching and everything that they were saying was so relevant, and I was so focused on what they were saying as a result of that, because I wanted to apply it all to my classes. So in terms of going out and finding a teacher training that is suitable for you, just make sure that you know those things, what it is that you're looking for in your teacher training. Are you more focused on certain things? What style of yoga do you like? Because obviously teacher trainings will cover different things, whether it's rocket, vinyasa, yin. So you want to look out for those things. And then just a few little tidbits as to more things that I didn't realize becoming a teacher. The business of teaching, you are your own boss, you're a one-man band, so you have to make sure that that you do all of your invoices. I remember when I had to do my first invoice, I was kind of Googling how invoices should be. But I think anything just standard that has your billing details. You have to contact HMRC and file yourself as independently employed, as freelance. What else? Some things to be mindful of as you start to get into studios. I think one of the funniest things for me is there are a lot of teachers so more often than not, a studio will start you as a cover teacher before they bring you on as a full-time teacher. And a lot of studios have different ways of managing it, but most studios tend to have WhatsApp groups of the teachers. And in those WhatsApp groups, they tend to share when they need covers, and it is like snap. You've got to be on it so fast, because otherwise someone else has gotten in there and taken that cover. And I remember in my early days trying to get more classes, I couldn't put my phone down because I was so terrified of someone messaging saying that they were looking for a cover and that I wouldn't be fast enough to get it. So there's lots of those little funny things, and it's a bit challenging as you start. But the reality is, and getting into new studios, go visit the studios that you want to work in. Go take those classes. Go get to know the teachers. I've found that this yoga community, the yoga teachers in London, are so incredibly supportive. And more often than not, it's those connections, it's those contacts that get your foot in the door. I've met some absolutely amazing people, some of my closest friends now, in that fashion, just by going to classes, by getting to know the studio managers, the people that work there, and then obviously doing your trial and hopefully doing well in that trial. But if you guys have any questions about what it's like to be a yoga teacher, about doing your teacher training, starting off as a teacher, how to get new opportunities, please let me know. I'd be happy to share everything that I've experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm still very new, but appreciating every opportunity that I've been given. And this whole experience, again, the good things and the bad, you always learn, you always grow. And and I love teaching, so I'd love to share with you whatever I can. So send your questions my way, and thank you for watching. See you again soon. Bye.